Sucker Slap episode 3. We shouldn't really number the episodes because they're not in any particular order.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna lose count.
Yeah. Same as always, we're gonna give our first impressions first. We haven't talked about it yet. We saw it at the same time, but we haven't talked about it yet. We're gonna give our first impressions first. Neither of us know what the other thinks. So that if you just want the quick response, you can get that, and then we can get out of your hair. You can take us out of your hair.
Yes.
And you know that you got your info.
Yep.
So, 3, 2, 1. Yes. This is the first good movie we've seen on this whole show.
Yeah, the first one that we've reviewed that is positive all around.
Yeah, because the highest any of the others got was Tabitha kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
We finally saw a good one, so third time's the charm, I guess.
Yep.
Who wants to go first?
I feel like you might be able to start better.
So this is the first. Okay, so when I saw Solo, I was like, yeah, that was a Ron Howard movie, even though it started off as a Phil Lord and Chris Miller movie. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller were the guys that did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which was astonishingly good, especially considering no one thought that was going to be good. I watched it and I was like, this is insanely good.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? Then they made the Lego movie, and that was insanely good. Yeah. And I remember watching the Lego movie and thinking, those nighttime scenes, like there was the nighttime chase where she built that three-wheel thing with all the flames and stuff, and I was like, the lighting in this and the visual style and the way the city looks so cool that I can barely wrap my head around it.
Yeah. That
scene, but the whole movie is into the Spiderverse because after I saw Solo, I was like, what happened to those guys? This is what happened to those guys.
Yeah,
they got to work on a much better movie.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the first movies in a long time. I was actually thinking, this is the first time since Scott Pilgrim where I felt like someone was enjoying making a movie. Like, they were like, what can we do in the visual medium with all this money? We can make something that's genuinely a delight to look at the whole time. Yes. And there's it's just, Lord Jesus, yes. Yeah. There's movies like when Pixar makes stuff, and it's it's really detailed, the movement's really smooth, everyone's character designs and proportions are nice, and the way they're very expressive. This movie looks better than every Pixar movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Maybe it's because it seems new to me. It's a new. I don't want to say it's a new art style, but it's a new thing for me to be exposed to in real time footage. I've read comics and I've read mangas and stuff like that, but seeing it flow this well. And, it was just. Oof. It was so good.
Tabitha says oof when something's good.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's weird. I'm sorry.
I actually don't know any movie that looks like this. I can't think of one. This was this proved that CG could work with that kind of painterly look. Everything, the frame rate is slowed down. It's ratcheted down from something like The Incredibles. So everything is not as smooth, but everything's more exaggerated and stylish. And, the way people kind of... The way characters actually animate is not only, more expressive, but it's also more subtle somehow.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of, the way they emote, especially with their faces, reminds me a lot of stop motion. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, it's because that's what Phil Lord and Chris Miller have been doing since the Lego movie. Because the Lego movie is partially stop motion, but it's also mostly CGI made to look like stop motion.
This is mostly CGI made to look like cartoon style.
Yeah. And there's some parts that are just straight up 2D animation.
Yeah.
There's also stop motion. There's also comic book panel, like scenes that are done with comic
Mm-hmm.
book panels, like full scenes, not just flashbacks or anything.
And they do the transitions into those scenes really, really well.
Yeah. God, just visually, the movie is, it's not even just a spectacle. Like, okay, a visual spectacle is one thing, where it's like, this looks amazing, and it's like, everything's, just blowing up on screen. Not like literally just blowing up, but like, there's, it's just
Yes.
lots of bright colors and, just noise and mayhem. This isn't just that, which when it needs to be, it is. It's also just like I said, it's just subtle. It's really well done. It's like everything seemed like it had so much effort put into it. Like you could feel how much work went into everything. Yeah. It didn't feel like anything was just like, whatever. We'll do that later. Like and that wasn't just in the visuals, which I've been going on about.
Right. The story.
The story and the script, like the way people talked and character interactions are so good. Like
I felt like this is
the best Peter Parker has ever been.
Yes.
Because with all of the live action movies, you're having to get an actor, and that actor is doing their thing on camera while being Peter Parker. And this is like, I never think about this when I'm watching live action movies, so it's clearly not really much of a problem. I don't think this is a problem per se, but it's an advantage that animated things have, especially animated adaptations, because if you read a comic book, the character is the drawing, and their characterizations, they're completely fictional. Mm-hmm. The way you understand them is not based on any actor's performance you've seen.
Right.
With cartoons and like voice acting, that's diminished a little bit, but it still, you don't attach the voice as much to the character as you would an actor in live action. Mm-hmm. So Peter Parker is just 100% Peter Parker, not being played by Tobey Maguire, not being played by Andrew Garfield or freaking the current one, Tom Holland, who I love Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And I love Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield. It's kind of just unfortunate for him because he is a great actor.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault that those movies sucked. But, like, I like them all, and I liked them as Spider-Man.
Right.
But this is the best Peter Parker there's ever been in film. Okay, so, character interactions, like, everyone is so likable. And yes. I say likable not in that they're good people, because that's not what likable means. But, like, Kingpin, is a likable villain. And I also like how he's portrayed as exaggerated. Like, the character shape. Like, he's got a huge body and his head is kind of in the center of his torso. But it's like, he has a silhouette that gives you the Kingpin feel. Mm-hmm. Like, where it's... Like, he didn't even look that exaggerated in the old cartoons, but in this is most exaggerated. But he's also he's the second most real Kingpin there's ever been, behind the Wilson Fisk from Daredevil, which was a way different thing. He still has the same kind of, like, he's still a good villain in this. Like, he has humanity. Mm-hmm. And he has, relatable reasons for why he's doing things, but the first thing you see Kingpin do is just like, this is the most intense Spider-Man movie ever. Like, stuff's happened in Spider-Man movies, especially Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, but like, wow, and it's a kid's movie that doesn't talk down to you at all. This is the antithesis of Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yes.
Like, this, like, it takes you, like, seriously as a viewer, so it's not gonna beat you over the head with stupid crap. Like, it's got, it's not even subtlety, like I was saying before. It's just the minimum base respect you give the audience. This just gives you that, and there's no catch to it or anything. I had a feeling they were gonna get cringy and go overboard with, like, fan service, or they were gonna make Penny Parker, like, be kind of cringy as far as, like, anime references or something, and that wasn't overdone. There was one scene that I had a feeling this could get a little overdone. But then it ends, and it was well done. I was like, it was kind of a quick thing. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The cast was fantastic. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I could be totally wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Miles Morales, this was like his first leading role, because I didn't recognize the actor's name. He did a great job, and he didn't do the thing that lots of people do, well, lots of celebrities and or kid voice actors do, where they are bad at it. He didn't do that thing.
He didn't do that, yeah.
Like, you know, if you get if you get George Clooney in a voice acting booth, suddenly George Clooney is not even a fraction as charismatic as he is in live action, because he's not.
The visual face,
yeah.
George Clooney.
Yeah, George Clooney's
the
acting.
Of George Clooney, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's animated, and his voice is actually quite monotone. Like, I mean, you watch Batman and Robin, where his face is in rubber, and he can't move his face as much.
I didn't recognize that as George Clooney for the longest time. I was really young then, but I knew who George Clooney was.
Yeah, but you didn't know that was George.
That was George
Yeah.
Clooney.
But whoever this kid is, I want him to be in more animated films, because he's a great voice actor, and he's a kid, which is extremely uncommon. He also could just be like, you know, like 19, 21 or something, and was kind of playing a younger character, and that's why he got to be a good actor and play a younger character.
Could be. We have we don't know. All we know is he did a good job, whoever it is.
Also, it was funny.
Yes.
And it wasn't. It was funny frequently. It was funny in the right places, and it was funny in the way that Spider-Man is funny, in that Peter Parker has this kind of like, things are going extremely wrong, so he's joking about it. Mm-hmm. And not in the way that I think everyone's kind of getting a little tired of in the MCU way. Where, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it won't be someone is in this situation and they're trying to make a joke to keep things light for their own mental state, like what Peter Parker does. And that's why he's actually funny. In the MCU, I feel like things will happen that are funny. Where, like, there's this intense situation and then something will happen that is funny. Yeah. Dude, the pacing is so good.
It is.
I at no point in the movie was I not just, like, enjoying the ride. Like, I was just holding on, getting pulled around. Wow, look at all this cool stuff.
And
good emotional beats. I cried.
I getting dizzy from too many things happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't overwhelm you with too much or drag out too little. Like, there was no scene that I felt was dragged out. There was a part that I feel like I was appropriately feeling like, go, 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 we have to go. Yeah. And it's a part where Peter's literally saying, dude, you gotta go. Mm-hmm. Like, Peter Parker is so good in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
And I love that it's the older, more experienced Peter Parker. Because we've got the inexperienced kid who makes mistakes all the time. Mm-hmm. Like 5 times, literally 5. Okay, yeah, 5 times now. And, like, this time it was just nice to have him at kind of the Bruce Wayne level. Not success level, because Peter Parker does have that level of success at times. Okay, maybe not Bruce Wayne level, but he does reach the I'm a successful adult who has a business level. But like he just knows what he's doing, and he's able to kind of wing it at times. Mm-hmm. And then there's some times where he's just like, things are going crazy, but he's not freaking out. Like, he's calm, he's focused, and he knows he's in trouble, but he's trying to do something about it.
Right.
Also, it was cool to see Peter Parker give life advice to someone younger who's like going through the same thing he is.
Cool to finally see a seasoned Peter Parker, like, mentor someone.
You can watch this movie and know that there was people involved that had creative control and were meaning to tell something specific, and they knew what they were doing. Like, you know, I could look at like behind the scenes stuff and find out, oh man, we were freaking out, like we didn't know we were gonna do this and this and this, and I'm feeling like I'll just not be able to believe it. Yeah. Like, it feels like everything went way too well for me to buy for a second that they didn't know exactly how this was gonna go when they finished the first draft. Yeah. I know that's totally not what happened, because it never happens.
Yeah, that's not how that works. but it seems.
So
seems like such a masterpiece. I don't know.
It seriously does, and it's
like, how can so many people work on one masterpiece and it's still a masterpiece?
Yeah, it's. Oh, I guess that's what's so amazing about it. So earlier in the week, let me tell you a story. Earlier in the week, I saw a movie called Mortal Engines that felt like you take the 3 original trilogy Star Wars movie. Hey, there's my Star Wars for the video.
Hey, yeah.
So
no, you already had a solo if you want to.
Oh shoot, you're right.
It was the very beginning, like the first.
I'm just
minutes.
layering them on now.
Yeah.
But I feel like they condensed the story of 3 movies into one, and as a result, that means you didn't have enough time to care. Where it's like Mortal Engines starts at Luca's on Tatooine and ends with the second Death Star is blown up and the rebellion has won the war. But it's in, an hour and 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And as a result, you can't care, because by the end of the first act, Luke already blew up the first Death Star. So it's like, well, there's another one? Anyway, Mortal Engines felt like that. Mm-hmm. This felt like that, but it cheated and it worked. Like, this felt like I'd known everyone for so long,
yes.
and I was getting all this payoff by the end.
I was gonna say, this feels like the first Avengers movie, but I didn't need to have any of the previous movies to already love and feel like I knew and just be able to flow in with all these characters, because they flow so well together, and because their characters were made just, I don't know, they were just done so well.
They're real, they're alive, and they're there, and the way they interact with other people is how you understand them, and it's almost like Into the Spiderverse did what DC was trying to do with Justice League, where they're like, we'll do the team up first, then we'll do the origins. It's like, Into the Spider-Verse didn't need the origins, it just had the team up, and that's all it needs. It doesn't need the origins after that. Like, it's just...
I mean, there was a little bit of an... I don't know if that spoils it.
It might. There's definitely a main character,
right?
But I would argue all 3 Avengers movies have main characters.
Yeah.
And they're actually worse for not focusing more on them, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Oh, did I just reveal that I like Spider-Verse more than any other Marvel movie? Because I do. This is the best superhero movie ever made, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
The halfway point in the movie, I was already like, this is the most fun I've ever had watching a superhero movie. Yeah. And it wasn't just because it was fun and silly and had action. It was because, I genuinely cared about everyone in it. Exactly. And... there's something about the way they've crafted Spider-Man as a mythological hero at this point. DC makes the mistake of playing into the campy worship side of it, where it's like, they're superheroes, they're more than human, they're almost like gods, they're like, I can't take all this power and whatever, and they're wearing silly outfits and making weird quips. Mm-hmm. Then there's Marvel, which is no, they're just real people. Yet they have these, insane godlike powers that are impossible to relate to. And it's almost like when there's a comedian that's filthy stinking rich and they're trying to make relatable jokes. And it just kind of flatlines a little bit. In my opinion, I know not everyone agrees with me, but that's how I feel about Kevin Hart's stand-up. Where Kevin Hart, you see his social media stuff and he's just he's so successful. It's you're not an everyman. Where's I going with this? Oh, that's what Marvel feels like. We're Marvel tries to, we're just a bunch of guys, right? We're just trying to save the world, whatever. And I love the Marvel movies.
Yes.
And I think that approach works better than what DC does, because right now what DC does doesn't work. But this had this kind of thing where Spider-Man, as a character, or as a title, is a mythological thing. Where it's and the movie kind of, for a second I was I think they're doing this, and by the end of it I was I know they're doing this, because it's almost there's the Knights of the Round Table, that kind of mythologically encoded thing, or Hercules. Mm-hmm. It embraces Spider-Man as that. It's like a mantle that they take, and it's not it's handed down through a bloodline. It's like
It's like a
this.
title or
Yeah,
like
it's like this is a position someone must hold
right
in the world, and it's like
in one of the worlds
in the multiverse.
Yes.
Someone must hold this position.
Yeah.
And it's like, they have the whole great power. With great power comes great responsibility, which it's super cool the way that they do that in this movie. Like,
yes.
In The Amazing Spider-Man, they were like weird trying to dodge around it. Like they were didn't want to do it that way, or they tried to make it different.
Yeah.
In this one, they literally just play the voice clip from Spider-Man 1. The one that everyone got to know.
Yep.
Like, they just play that audio, and it's like, yeah, you've heard it before, and they play that, and it's just like, yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I remember. And the movie just, like, starts to convince you of what you already know, and it's that, like, Spider-Man is this huge, like, cornerstone of, like, Western pop culture, and it's because Spider-Man's different from other superheroes, and, like, that's why he's so popular, that's why he endures, that's why he seems unique among Marvel, and certainly among DC. It's kind of like when Batman seems so unique among DC, it's like he's the biggest one, and it's because there's something different about him. Like, Spider-Man is the biggest because there's something different about him. There's something that makes him more relatable.
Yeah.
Not just more relatable, but, like, you feel like you can look up to him.
Yes.
Whereas, like, Tony Stark seems like he's just... He's too exceptional. Like, he's too gifted to, like, relate to.
He's too much of a genius. He was born into too much privilege.
Thor's literally a god.
Yeah.
And I think Bruce Banner is much closer. He's closer to where Peter Parker is because Bruce Banner has this horrible, like, he has tragedy and he has this thing that he can't control that is capable of great horrible things.
Right. And he's a lot more miserable though, which is why I think people probably don't want to relate with him.
Yeah, and the Hulk is the Hulk is the best you can be on your worst day. Whereas Spider-Man is who you are right now, really trying to be your best. And they didn't even have to, that's what I'm saying, like, they didn't even have to spend the time on it. It's like they did so much with so little.
Yep.
The way the character just works, and it's just like when I said I was afraid there was going to be too much fan service, the fan service isn't overt. It doesn't beat you over the head.
Right.
But it's like, maybe it's just because I've seen all the Spider-Man movies, and like I watched Spider-Man cartoons, and I'm just always liked Spider-Man. But I don't think I ever said he was my favorite.
Yeah.
This movie really wants to convince me that he's my favorite. Cards on the table. My favorite is Batman. He is my favorite superhero. And always was. Not even close. He was so far in first place, he might as well be in a different competition. Like, my top 5 had to just not include Batman. After this movie, now I'm like, I don't know. I need to reevaluate it because, like, I think maybe Batman needs something like this. He doesn't have something like this because there's a lot of different Batmans. But then I start thinking about that. I was thinking about this earlier, and it's like, I don't think there are as many good Batmans as there are good Spider-Men.
Yes. Yeah, this was amazing. I feel like I would pay to go back and watch it again in the theater. Just because I want to see it again, like, and I want to see it now. I want to go see it right now because
I want to just watch it again. There's this way they did focus in this movie.
Oh my god!
Where they had this.
At first, it like was confusing me, and I was thinking, "Oh, this is." And then, like, as I got into it, I was like, "This is new, and this is really cool."
Yeah, like they have kind of this almost 3D glasses, but 3D image, but you're not wearing 3D glasses.
Like a double image.
Yeah, to put things out of focus. And you'd think that'd look distracting, but it just doesn't.
I was comparing a while ago because we watched My Hero Academia. I was comparing Marvel and My Hero, and I feel like this is the first time a Marvel movie has affected me emotionally the way that My Hero Academia has, because
I absolutely agree.
My Hero Academia like hits you in the heart and it hits you like in the stomach and you're just like out of breath.
It hits you in your muscle.
Yeah, like you're just like I feel like
we'll get to anime reviews eventually,
right,
but we like this one a lot.
We like this one a lot because this with My Hero, I get like affected emotionally to my core.
Mm-hmm.
Almost at the end of every single episode.
It
doesn't affect me the same way that Marvel movies affect me. I don't know
Marvel
why.
movies I genuinely enjoy and I'm entertained and I love talking about them and like thinking what if scenarios for the next movie.
Mm-hmm. But
like I really do enjoy them. Like this is why I don't like 0 to 10 scores because I feel like I forget what a 10 is often.
Yeah.
This is a 10.
This is a 10.
Into the Spiderverse is a 10.
Whoa. Miles, what's wrong?
There's definitely stuff I can say about it that I think could have been better, but it's just one of those things where it seems like it doesn't matter, because by the end of the movie, you don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you've forgotten all about anything that may not have worked out, like, perfectly, that maybe wasn't executed perfectly. And I can't super go into detail, but it has to do with the movie's twist.
Oh.
And I
feel like I almost felt it coming, and I just.
Well, I didn't feel it coming, but then when it happens, I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of annoying that that's a plot point now. But in the end, it helps one of the biggest like emotional gut punches in the movie happen.
Yeah.
It does this thing that I feel like movies need to do. You can't just have, we're trying to prevent the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have that while also having something to run towards. And it's like, that's how a good hero's journey works, which this movie is. I think most good movies are hero's journeys. It's like, you have the absolute worst thing that can happen, the stakes that are driving. It's like, well, I have to do something or the world's going to end. But, what am I? What am I? Who am I to stop the world from ending? That's what you need, the thing to run towards, the sun to chase before it sets. Like, you have to have that, and this movie just balances that so well, and it's like, the world's ending, but I've never been more excited!
Yeah.
Can I just say, this is the best soundtrack,
Yes.
like, of any superhero movie. Like, and it's, okay, so...
The visuals are great, but the soundtrack just adds that much more, like, style. I don't know.
This movie has a pulse.
Yeah.
And part of it is the soundtrack. There's the visuals and the way, but everything kind of moves to a beat, especially when like a montage is happening or like when Miles is figuring something out. Like everything moves to a beat and it's just got this flow. And like Iron Man gets to cheat by having a bunch of licensed classic rock songs that I adore and always have.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had heard a single song from this movie that was, like, meant to go with something. Like, I think there's points where there's a song somewhere in the background, but it's not, like, moving the scene. Every time there's a song moving the scene, I almost feel like a lot of these songs were written for the movie, and if they weren't, then good lord, did it seem like they were.
Yeah.
Like, the movie must have been made around the song and they did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
God, just... Didn't I start off talking about negatives? I think I ran out.
Yeah, you did.
Like, I just got lost in all the positives. So, yeah, go see Into the Spider-Verse. It's incredible.
Go.
Just 2 big thumbs up.
Yes.
Thwip. Thwip. Release. Thwip. Release.